So we want to move on with the switch statement. If everyone is online and everyone can hear me. I hope you can all hear me now. Oh, good. So let's proceed. Okay, so share my screen again with you. Can you all see my screen? Just let me know if you can see my screen. Oh, good. Thank you. So now we're going to consider switch statement. So previously we had discussed if statement and the else if statement. So for this section, we would be looking at switch statement to end this chapter of the course and proceed with subsequent chapters. So what switch statement? Basically, what do you understand by switch statement? And that's what I'm going to give you a brief explanation on what it means to prepare a switch statement. So if the data that you want to work on, maybe integer data or character data. When we say integer, we're referring to basically numbers, and character data. If you want to classify them, or if you want to categorize them, the best thing that you want to do is to use a switch statement. So a switch statement is just like an else if statement, but in a different way. So they'll probably give you the same result, but when we do the switch statement now, you would know the difference between that switch statement and other statements, the else if statement that we have used previously. So I'll give you the format for a switch statement and follow up that with an example, which we explain this much better. So what's the format? The format is given in this, like we'll have case, then we have value 1. So we group them into cases. Then under each of the cases, we have a statement, which can be whatever you want to perform. Your first statement, your second statement, like print something, make some calculations, make some arithmetic operations and all of that. So when you finish writing your statement, you could write a couple of statements there. Then you end it with a break statement, okay? So each section or each case, each case has to break for another case. So every case has a value. Every case has a value assigned to it, okay? So we're going to look at an example and I'll explain to you what all of this means. So this is very similar to your nested if statement that we had considered previously. So let's look together this example, so you can have a couple of cases. This is case 1. Okay, I'll copy this and then we'll have case 2. This is another case with value 2 up to any number of value, maybe up to value 3. And let's do that. Change the values. And then maybe that's the last value we want to have for today. So we can go ahead and write a default here. Yeah. We usually should have a default case. Okay, so what is a default case? The default case is the case that is the program that we run if the conditions are not satisfied. So each of the cases are conditions. Okay, if certain conditions are satisfied, then case 1 would run. If the conditions that are assigned or attached to case 3, for example, is satisfied, then we run case 3. That way, we don't need to do anything about case 1 and 2. So there are different cases. Okay, so you are successfully grouping your tasks into different categories. So if the incoming, if the input meets a particular case, that case will run. Otherwise, the default case will be if it doesn't meet any of the cases with the values 1 to 3, 1 to 5, 1 to 10, however you specify it, then the default case will run. So for every switch statement, there has to be a default case. Okay, so if any of the cases are not being satisfied, we'll run the default case. So let's look at an example which will explain this much better to us. So together, example. Example says write a C program, which will calculate the following expression. Okay, if x is equal to 4, okay, y is equal to x to the power of 3 minus 2x. Okay, then if x is equal to 6, y will be equal to 9 minus 4x, x to the power of 2. That's like 4x squared. And then if x is equal to 8, y would be equal to 8. Otherwise, the value of y should be 0. Good. So this is your question, and we want to see how we can solve this problem together. Now, before we solve the problem, let's try to understand what the problem is in Usher. So we have, this can be classified as cases, okay? This is like your case. These are all cases, okay? Cases with values. So the first value here is 4. Then the next case, the second case here, is a case with value, take this out, is a case with value 6, because x is 6. Okay, this is another case with value 8. Okay, and then the default case here, default is 0. The default case is what we set there, where the value of y will be 0. So we have two variables that are given in this example that we're going to use switch case for. Now, switch statement, I beg your pardon. First, we have the x value, and then we have the y. If we have the value for x, we should be able to find the value for y. So what we're going to do here is tell the user to give us the value of x. So the value of x, if it meets certain conditions. Okay, I will just give a simple example. You log into a website, and they ask you, your student portal, they ask you to enter your student number. So your student number can be referred to as this. If your student number is this, then a particular function should run. If your student number is this function should run. If your student number is this, then should be this function. Okay, if your student number doesn't fall into any of these categories, maybe they are going to give scholarships, a certain level of scholarship. Maybe this is the scholarship calculation. Let's say this is 70% scholarship. This is 80% scholarship. This is like 90% scholarship. So if any student don't fall into this category, we give them 50%, or we don't give them any scholarships at all. So this is a very practical example that you can easily relate with. So coming back to our question here, if x is equal to 4, if the value of x that we receive from the user is equal to 4, then this function should be calculated. The function with variable y, the y function should be calculated using 4. And when we use 4 here, y should be equal to that's 4 raised to power 3 minus 2 times 4. So you know what that is. You can calculate it easily. The same thing if you have x is equal to 6. So we now group them into different cases. Okay, this is one case. This is another case. This is another case. And this here is the default case. The default case is the case that does not meet any of the stated conditions previously. So let's go ahead and use our switch now. So when you want to start with the switch, switch is just like your nested if statement. Okay, so you start with switch. Okay, it's easier for you to organize it with switch. Yeah. So you start with a switch statement and switch what? X. Why? Because the value of X is what you're receiving. Do you understand? The cases are X, case of X. If X is this, if X is that, if X is this, okay? So we use switch X here, right? So that's what you need to start with. So let's go ahead and solve this together. We start our program, include standard input output header. Here we're going to also include the mathematical operation function math, because we have square root and all that there. Int, give some space here. Okay. So here we go ahead and define X as int. We define Y because Y is a calculated value. Y is going to be float. Then we use the printf statement to receive the value of Y. Please enter X. Okay, you ask the user to enter X, then you collect the value of X here. The value of X is supposed to be in integer. Okay, so that's going to be put in X. Simple as that. So next is we're going to use our switch statement. Normally, if you're using the nested if statement, you should start with if X is this, if X is that. But now we're not going to use if, we use switch. So switch will now group them into cases, okay? Switch X. So we switch, how do I spell this now? Switch X. So when we say switch X, we open this also. Okay, so what's the first case? Case 4 is the first case, okay? Case 4, where S is equal, so the value of S is what we pick in case 4. If the entered value, if X here is 4, if X is 4, if we receive S as 4, that's the case. So what will be the value of this case? Y is equal to, what do we have there? Y is equal to X raised to the power of 3 minus 2X. X raised to the power of 3, we're going to use power. You remember, you use power X comma 3 minus 2 multiplied by X. Okay. Then when you finish a case, you need to use break. Tells you that that's the end of that case. Then when you break, you go to the last statement. You run the last statement. Okay, we're coming to that quickly. So we have another case. If that's not the case, maybe the next case should be case 6. Case 6, you have to put this. So case 6 is when X is equal to 6. So what would Y be? Y is going to be equal to 9 minus 4 X raised to power 2. 9 minus 4X raised to power 2. That's 9 minus 4 multiply. Is that 4X? What do we have? Yeah, 4 multiply by, that's going to be 4 into power. How do we do that? How do we write that? Yes. Oh, we can just do 4 multiply by 2. That's X. What do we have there? 4. Okay, 4X. Yeah, 4 multiplied by X, X squared. So X 4 multiplied by X squared is going to be X times X. Okay, good. So as simple as that, then we break this. Last case is 8. In the case of 8, we say y is equal to 8. Once it's 8, we put y is equal to 8. Then we break it. Don't forget to break it, okay? Because if you don't break it, it just keep running non-stop. I mean, runs something that is not supposed to run. So y is equal to 8. So then the last case we need to put in there is the default case. What will be the default? What happens in the event that the values that don't correspond to the values of y that we have? So the default case, y should be set to 0 by default. If any other value of x is entered other than 8, other than 6, or 4, then the value of y should be 0. If we receive anything, if we receive 1, y is 0. If we receive 2, y is 0. If we receive 5, y is 0. If we receive 7, y is 0. If we receive 9, y is 0. 10 and upwards, y is 0. That's what your program is saying. So we come here and then we print. What do we print? We print f, the value of y on the new line. We can print that. Go ahead, print that on a new line. Then, sorry, y is equal to that float value of y there, y, and then you return 0. When you put the y value, there's no break for default value z, okay? So we don't have to put break there because that's the default. Okay? If we don't have any of those things, by default, we just run the default value and then we move straight to print, you know, these are the value of y. Okay, so that's why we're not putting break there. We put break because the conditions here have been satisfied. So that the default is the last. There's nothing after this. After this is this, okay? But if you look at the cases, after this case, there's another case. After this case, there's another case. And after this, there's another case. But this is the last case. So we don't need to put a break there. Okay, you're asking if why we shouldn't put a break. Okay, so that's it. Thank you. So that's an example for you, very simple example of how you can use the switch statement. It's very easy, very simple. Yeah, very easy and very simple. If we were in the class, I should have given you an example, but I think I should give you an assignment rather, in this case for the switch statement, and you submit this assignment within the week. Let's look at what you can do. All right, any questions, guys, about this? Any questions with the switch? Oh, I have a good example assignment for you here. All right, let's solve this last one, and then we'll move over to the assignment section. The last one, we've solved this before with a nested if statement, but now we want to use the switch statement to solve it. You remember the question where maybe we did it together, I don't know, or in the other section. Write a C program which will tell the user if the character entered from the keyboard is a vowel or not. Okay. You write a C program which will tell the user if the character entered from the keyboard is a vowel or not. You know what a vowel is. So a vowel basically are characters that 5 characters: A, E, I, O, U. Okay, these are vowels, but we have characters A to Z. So anyone can enter any alphabet, any character can enter an A, they can enter an A, B. But if they enter any of these, okay, you will tell the user that you have entered a vowel. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cases and a default, which makes it 6. Okay, so let's use the switch now to solve this problem. So we start include standard input and output stdio standard input and output. Okay, so we need to define the character that we're going to receive as this variable as a character there. You can use any variable if you want, but we use ch as that variable. So we print f and ask the user to please enter a character, just a character, okay? And then whatever character that they enter, we use scanf to receive it. We store it in the character there as and when we have asked them to enter this, and they enter it, then we use our switch ch this time around, not x again, because that's the variable that we defined. So what will be the first case of the switch statement? Okay. So when we use switch, the first case is A. So use a string. So the first case is A, and the second case is if any of this is entered. You know, we have this case, there's nothing but, so since we are going to display the same message for all of it, so we can as well put it this way: case E, case I, and what more case do we have? Case I, case A, E, I, O. A, E, I, O, U. So that means in this case, if any of these cases happen, you're going to print and tell them that you have entered a vowel, and then you break it. Then the default, if they enter any other thing, you just tell them that they entered a non-vowel. So in this case, because all of these cases will carry the same text, so we don't have to, you know, repeat it over and over. So we just print F and a new line here. Tell them that you entered a vowel, or the character you entered is a vowel, anything you would like to write there. Then you break at this point. This is the point where we break. Okay. We would have decided to break for each cases, but each of the cases carry the same text. So we just group all of them into one. That's the reason we had to do this. Just a little bit of difference from the initial example. Then the last is going to be the default. So the default is that the default meaning if they enter any other value that doesn't fall within these 5 characters, you should tell them that you entered a non-vowel. Yeah. No, yeah, and that should end that should finish your program. So that's all for this, you know, writing the previous statement in a switch case. So which is easier, you choose whichever you want, which is more flexible. I think this seems to be a little bit easier to write. So you can pick other examples that we did with a switch, with a nested if statement, and try to write them up in using the switch statement and see how it works. And at the end of that chapter 2, there are a couple of exercises that you can do. I'd like you to do the first example, and please send it to me by email. I like to see what you have done. Just do it and then submit it to me by email. So if you don't have the note right now, I would be uploading it just 5 minutes after this class. I'm going to be uploaded. I think it's already uploaded it there on the e-learning page. I think it's there already. I'll check. If it's not there, I'll upload it, but I think it's there already. So just go and download the chapter 2 and solve the first. So I'll write it here. Your take-home assignment. Assignment would be solve question 1 exercises. Okay, solve that and submit it to me in an to my email. Okay, I'll share my email with you here. So submit this before submitted before today's 13th. So I'll give you till Friday 17th. That's a long time. Okay, 17th April 2020 at 12 noon. Okay, don't submit after 12 noon. I won't look at that. So at 12 noon, so submit it to my email. So you have to submit it to that email once you do that assignment. So the assignment for you is to solve question 1 of chapter 2 exercises. Okay, chapter 2 exercises. So, and submit that to me by email here. And then that will be all for chapter 2. So the next class we'll be discussing chapter 3 of this course. And we have one more chapter after that for this semester. I'm sure we'll be able to finish all of the chapters, and I hope you guys are all learning. So any questions about today's class, or any questions about any other thing you would like to know before we would finish the class for today? If you have a question, can you quickly let me know? Okay, if there are no questions, if you have questions, just send it to me. Yeah, I'm going to ask you to do your attendance now. Yusuf, unfortunately, I'm not able to unmute you today, so you should send a text. So don't send your attendance to everyone, okay? Wait until I ask you to do it, okay? Please wait until I ask you to do it. So submit your attendance to me privately with your name and your student number in a private chat, not to everyone. In a private chat, guys, don't send it to everyone. Your name and your student number, your name and your student number. Your name and your student number. You can do that right now. Your name and student number. I see some people writing names without student number. So I will go on the e-learning website and I'll try to see if that chapter is there. But I think the chapter is there. Chapter 2 is there. And I would check if it's not there. I'll put it in for you. I think it's there already. I will just verify that right away. Okay. That chapter is not there, so I'm going to be uploading chapter 2 for you today. Right now, I'm doing it right now, so we'll do it right away. On the other hand, I think I changed my mind on this. I will upload the assignment for you on the e-learning. So you would submit it for me on the e-learning. So that will make things easy. Okay. So submission. Should be on really, that will make it really easy for you. Okay. So, but right now I'm going to attach you the file on the Okay, so I want to believe that everyone should have submitted their names by now. I'm dropping the assignment for you. You submit the assignment on the e-learning page as well.